We are live.
A bird sang this song to me. There was a message in its melody. Sweetest lyrics that I ever heard. There's a message in the songs of birds. Tomorrow is another day. Living is the only way tomorrow's gonna ever come. Listen to the words of the song. Everything gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be
Hi, welcome to A Sip of Inspiration. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, known as the Empowerment Doctor. And today we are speaking with Ken Lapp. We're going to talk about how to have a great retirement with little or no savings. And as you know, when you watch me, you never know where we're going to end up in the conversation. So I have found some exciting information about where Ken is going now. And we're going to try to see if we can work that into. I want you to know that if you're watching this, thank you. And you're watching this on my personal page and Facebook and my business page and Facebook, which is pretty cool. And even on YouTube. So we finally have those together. Later, of course, we will edit this down and it will be put in all the places that you watch your podcast. You can find out additional information about me at the ChampagneConnection.com. Remember, that's CHAMPAGNE, like the liquor, and connection is singular, CONNECTION.com. Be sure you go in and you like us, and there's some cool merchandise out there. So get a t-shirt or get a mug that says, my favorite color is champagne. I think that is pretty good. And I want you to run right on over to that YouTube page and subscribe. Please, I do need more subscribers, and you'll know exactly when I post something so that you can see it always. A big thanks to my sponsor, Rise. When you need a supply company to rise to your needs, call Resource Industrial Supply and Equipment. So with that being said, I want to introduce Ken Lapp. Kim is a certified life coach, and he has a specialty in helping people retire with little of no savings. He's also an expert in depression and living a simple life. And I wanted to have him on the show because according to a lot of the newspaper articles, people are having difficulty with retirement, having enough funds, what to do next. And also after COVID, we're finding out that people are a little bit more open about their emotional states also. So welcome, Ken. So thank you very much.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you. So happy to be here. So
tell us about your website, how to get you, how people can follow you after the show. So give them the website for me and let them know anything else you'd like them to know to reach you.
Okay, cool. My website has quite a bit of information on it, and the actual URL is kenlappgloballifeskills.com, but it's easier to get to it. You can also get to my website if you just go to rejectdepression.com. That's easier to remember and easier to write down. And when you get on my website, you can see my story and you can see about the services we offer. And there'll also be a page called Video Courses. And the first video course, actually, there's only one right now. I'm working on the second one, but the first video course is called, as you mentioned, Retire on Social Security. And so there's a page for that, and there's a video, about a 6-minute video intro that talks about the course. And there's also, there's 7 videos in the course. Of course, they're optional, and you can do whichever ones you like. But they total 4.5 hours of content, okay? And it's not it's not vague generalities. I worked very hard on this course to make it very specific information. And for every screenshot, for every article that I've quoted, that I've researched and quoted, I provide the link to that website and to that page. So anybody who's doing the course, if they want to find out more about that information, they can go directly to that page and look at it themselves. So, I can talk, I certainly will talk more about retiring on Social Security, but just quickly, I also wanted to mention that I do, I guess a little bit about me and my background.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, I guess I'm not alone in saying that I had an unfortunate childhood. I know many people did.
Mhm.
But I I had a major psychological crisis when I was 27, and that started 35 years of depression, severe depression. But I got out of that depression, and I know how I did it. So now I'm coaching other people on how to get out of depression. And boy, there's a lot of depression around these days. There's a lot of reasons to be depressed, isn't there? The world is in pretty rough shape. But
The world is the world is very interesting right now. Let's
yeah,
just
okay, that's a very nice way to put it. Yeah. So in my video course, the first video is all about the financial aspects of retiring on just your Social Security check. And of course, it's easier if there's two people living together. They say that two can live as cheaply as one. But my research was done on the basis of, could one person, a single person, live and on just their Social Security. And I used the statistic that in June 2021, I believe it was, the average Social Security check was $1,509. So I used that as a figure. And in my research, I found that there are four very specific ways that thousands of people are doing it, are living on that much money or less every month. Now, actually, I must confess that my research was done about a year ago, before inflation took off like a rocket. And so I know that things are even tougher now than they used to be. But still, the principles that I talk about are all valid. They're still valid. So some of the principles are and of course the course is geared towards retired people, right? So it's people that don't have to work 9 to 5 every day. So one of the basic principles is that you can slow down. You can just slow down your life. You don't have to be in a hurry anymore. um, you can sleep longer if you want to. You can meditate if you want to. You can walk if you want to. Walk to the store and back because you're not in a hurry.
Mhm.
Um, and I and also living the simple life. There are many things that we can do, that anybody can do, no matter how much money you have, even if you're a multimillionaire. These are still things that are good for every person to do, and that is live the simple life. And that involves eating whole, unprocessed, good foods, because your body it's like a machine, right?
Mhm.
And the better fuel you put into it, the better it's going to work. And most people forget, or at least I used to forget, that my brain is part of my body. And so if my body's working better, my brain will work better. And what that means is that I'll be smarter, and I'll be more creative, and I'll be happier, because our natural state, human beings' natural state is to be relaxed and happy and loving, and so when we do things, when we take action steps, concrete action steps to go to that state, we're not making up something artificial. We're going back to the way we were. We're going back to the way we are naturally, and the way that we work optimally, the way that we work the best.
So we talked about sleep, more sleep, which lately there's a lot of research on the detriment to our bodies when we don't get enough sleep. And there's been a lot of research to back this up that says we're moving far too fast. And food is something every day. There seems to be an article about how badly we eat and how it is affecting our memory and our health and things like that. So these are great tips that will slow us down and get us back to that place where we can at least be healthy enough to live out our retirement.
Exactly. I mean, we don't have to all become decathlon runners, but let's try and hang on to whatever health we have left.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? I mean, I realized a few years ago that if all I did was a short jogging or a fast walk every morning and a few stretches, that would help me be mobile longer. And the benefits of exercise are just huge. They're manifold. Like if you exercise and stretch regularly, you have less pain. You have less chronic pain. When you get an illness, you recover more quickly instead of being sick longer.
Mm-hmm.
Because your body has more healthy reserves. And it's the same with eating whole, unprocessed foods, rather than, Cheerios. I mean, I hate to say it, and maybe people out there are going to hate me, but it's just that all I mean is that most of the foods that are highly processed have a lot of sugar and chemicals that really aren't healthy for your body. So if we can, and there's a lot of jokes about this, I know, but if we can eat more nuts and raisins, and whole foods that are unprocessed, and actually less red meat, there's a lot of beef growers here that'll be after me, I'm sure, but everything in moderation, right? I mean, you don't
Right.
have to cut it out entirely. Just try and eat less. And the more vegetables, the more fruits you can eat, the more, and I guess maybe if you do eat meat, you could try and look for organic products or products that haven't been processed too
Mm-hmm.
seriously.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that I don't care where you are in life, where you find yourself at what stage, if you exercise some, get up, walk around the corner, walk around the block, just get moving and watch what you eat and how you eat it. I mean, we're
Ah,
such a rush, man. We just
oh,
food down. It's like we're done in 10 minutes. It's like, no, no.
for
So,
some reason, when I used to sit down the table, I used to just wolf my food down, and not even taste it,
right.
But now, there was a while there that when I was in my depression, that I overate because, at least there was something in my life that I enjoyed, right? Sort of, that was my attitude at the time. But I soon started to put on too much weight. And one of the ways I got out of that was to just slow down my eating and chew more, chew
Right.
longer.
No longer.
And
Right.
yeah, because I think, my stomach tells my brain when it's had enough. There's a signal. but I think I can swallow food faster than that signal goes to my brain. So, but if I eat slower, if I chew more, not only does my digestion improve because it has more saliva in it, and because the food is chewed up smaller, but I'm giving my stomach time to send that message to my brain. So then I'm not hungry. I get unhungry, or I get not hungry uh, at the right time instead of just ignoring that and plowing on. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that really helped me. And oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the other thing I did to help lose that weight was to switch to away from junk food. And I mean, I love chocolate, but it's not good for me. I don't feel good after I eat it. So, but that doesn't stop me. If it's around, I'll eat it anyway. So, so what I do is I have to get it out of the house. I have to stop buying it. If I can keep it out of the house. And the same is true with processed food and even high high sugar content foods.
Well, I'm glad I don't have my cup that says I am only here for the chocolate. I actually have a mug that says I'm only here for the chocolate.
Yeah.
I love chocolate too. So
If you
now
don't have chocolate, I'm out of here. Yeah.
that's right. No chocolate, I'm out.
Yeah.
On your website, you have some research about how to find places to live or considering where you live when you retire so that you can make your money go further. So,
Excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you. Um, it's not actually directly on the website, but it's in the first video of the course. There is, because there's 4 ways I found that thousands of people are living on very little money and living a good life, a secure, happy life on just their social security. And one of those is to move to a smaller city where the cost of living is much lower. And in the video, I show a website, a page, a story where a company called Go Banking Rates did a survey, and they looked at, I forget how many, they looked at the top 143, the largest 143 cities in the US. And they found that there's 20 of them. There's 20 of those cities that you can actually live on just your social security. And so not only do I have a link to that article, and by the way, you have to be very careful to go to that one article only, because to my surprise, I found many articles on the internet with exactly the same name as this article. So you have to go to the one in the link. And I have no association with any of those websites or companies or anything. There's nothing in it for me except that hopefully people who watch the course and follow the recommendations will be happier and more successful. So that's my goal. So in the video, I show the top 7 cities that they found, and the name of them, of course, and a little bit about them, and also a link to the article that shows the other 13 cities of the top 20.
now, are these cities people really want to live in?
Well, I haven't lived in all of those cities. I haven't lived in any of them, actually, but there's cities, like just off the top of my head, like Wichita Falls. There's a couple cities in Texas. There's one in Indiana. There are a few around, and like some of these are cities of about 100,000 people, so that's a fair size.
Fair size, yes.
Yeah, they have complete resources and amenities. So, from the research I did, they looked like very nice little communities. So that's one place that you could live, uh, or one a list of 20 places that you could live on just your Social Security. And there's three other ways that I found that people are. Should I talk about that a
Yeah,
little
talk
bit?
about those. Yeah.
Okay, great. One thing was, I found a website that talks about um, living in your RV full time, your recreational vehicle full time. I don't know if you saw or any of people in your audience saw the movie Nomadland. That's actually it's an Academy Award winning movie, and it's actually based on a true story of a woman that did that. And she modified just a van, a white van, and lived in it, and she really enjoyed it. And I also have a link to another website that is a group that is sponsored by a group of nomads. They call themselves nomads, and they form communities, and they have caravans, and there may be 20 or these people or more, and they travel together from place to place, and they sit around the campfire together at night. And the research I did, it looked like a wonderful, caring community, so I thought that would actually be a wonderful way to live, surrounded by good friends that could show you the ropes if you needed some education on how to do that. The other thing or another way that I found is from moving overseas. Like, there are many countries around the world where the cost of living is much lower, and they have excellent health care, I mean, not all of them, of course, but some of them do, and some of them don't. Some of them have excellent health care for much less than you'd pay in America. And there's a book I found. What the heck was it called? Anyway, it's in the video course. I think it's just called How to Retire Overseas, by a woman named Kathleen Petticord.
Mm-hmm.
And she has lived for the last 20 years. She has lived in so many countries around the world, So, and she does reports, and she calls her reports warts and all, So she doesn't hold it. Yeah, so she doesn't hold anything back, but she tells the details, the nitty gritty of these places, like how to get a taxi, how to buy a cell phone and a good plan, where to go for a fitness club or just for exercise, So she has all the details, and of course she has different reports on her website, like the last one I saw was in 2022, how let's see, 7 places to live for under $1,200 a month. 7 countries. Yeah. So that looked like and these places are tropical places. I think one of the places is in Peru. So there are some places in Europe and around, but a lot of them are tropical places. They're beautiful places to live, So the last way of the 4 ways that I found, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was delighted to find it, actually. It's they call it home sharing, but it's not the traditional home sharing that you might have heard about. This kind of, it's not where one person is paid to just do everything for another person that can't do anything for themselves. It's not that at all. It's nothing like that. This home sharing is by the National Shared Housing Resource Center. And they have a website that lists all of the different home sharing associations across the United States, and actually even around the world. And what their function is, they're sort of matchmakers between people, perhaps elderly people who have a big house and a spare room they're not using, on the one hand, and on the other hand, someone who's a little younger or a little more fit and able who is looking for a place to live, and they put those folks together, and the person lives in the big house in return for very reduced rent, sometimes free rent, simply in return for doing simple chores.
Oh,
Simple chores around the house. Yeah. So I was delighted to find that the National Shared Housing Resource Center, and in the course, you know, I, I'm sure actually if you searched on Google or any search engine, you could find their website very easily. So there's 4 concrete ways that a lot of people are doing it right now.
that's fantastic. I think the home sharing is interesting because I hadn't, you look at the Golden Girls reruns and you say, oh, that's cool. And it's
Yeah.
a little bit of it there, but like that's a real thing. I think that is so cool.
And some of the photos they have, I mean, they don't have a huge hundreds of photos, but they have a few photos, and they're photos of the 2 people that are doing it, like the one with the house and the one that's moved in, and they're laughing and hugging, and so it is kind of like the Golden Girls. They have a very good relationship, and the terms of the agreement are set out in advance, so everybody's happy for the long term and there's no surprises. It really looks like a great way to live.
That's interesting. And I think the overseas thing, because a lot of people always think that, oh my God, I didn't get an opportunity to travel while I was working because I was so busy. Uh, but now it's like living overseas in places that are affordable is that's kind of an exotic option. It's like,
Really?
oh yeah.
And they tell you things like how to set up a bank account, and how to uh, minimize the taxes you pay, and these kinds of things. So they're very thorough and very direct and plain and very comprehensive in the information they provide. Yeah.
So prior to retirement, are there things that you think people should do before they retire? Because sometimes we do these things as a knee jerk, like, okay, I'm going to retire now. Now, what do I do next?
Yeah.
So what steps would you think one should take prior to pushing that retirement button?
Oh, another great question, Stephanie. Thank you. Yes. So there's a number of things. Um, you know, um, and I guess I would start by saying that people who enjoyed their career, enjoyed the job they're retiring from, they usually have very different issues when transitioning to retirement than people who worked at a job, maybe a labor job for many years, driving or whatever, and they didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Like when I was in between high school and university, a friend of mine got me a job at one of those places, working for the city, and I remember just being flabbergasted by hearing the drivers say things like, I've just got 12 years left to retirement. And to me, 12 years was a long, long time. But those people that they're fulfilling, they're doing their job, they're doing their duty, they're bringing home the bacon, so that's their purpose in life, and they're doing it well, and good on them. But those people sometimes have unrealistic expectations of retirement. um, when every once in a while, when I was working at that job for the summer, every once in a while, and I heard this more than once, you'd hear about one of those drivers who retired, and then a few weeks or a couple months later, he passed away. And he didn't even fall down. He wasn't in an accident. He just passed away in his chair in his living room watching TV.
Hmm.
That can be a very dangerous situation, right?
Right.
He's he doesn't get any exercise
Right.
because he used to get exercise on the job. He has no social connections, even the ones from work. He's miserable. He's depressed because he doesn't have his job anymore, but that doesn't make sense to him because he never liked that job in the first place. And he's moping around the house, and his wife doesn't know what to do with him, and so they argue, and so he's very unhappy, and so he's between a rock and a hard place. And a lot of people, when they get to a place like that, they just leave. They just die, they just pass away. And so the thing to do for people like that are retiring, are getting ready to retire, even, or even if they're already retired, you have to take action. You have to take action. So many times in life, I've found that the solution to whatever problem you have is just to take action. It doesn't even matter if you do the wrong thing, as long as you're doing something. If you're doing the wrong thing, it won't be long before you figure out it's the wrong thing, and then you can do something else. But if you just sit around thinking about it, and your negative thoughts go on and on in your head, you just go down and down, and things get worse and worse. So make a list. If you're one of those people, make a list. Go through your life. When you were a child, what kind of things did you want to do? And then when you're a teenager, or when you're in your early 20s, what you were thinking about things you wanted to do, but maybe you didn't have the money. And then when you're in your early 20s, you couldn't do it because you had to pay the bills. Whatever, all of these different things. Just sit down through your life and think about everything. It doesn't matter how wild it seems. You don't have to tell anybody. This is your life. You have the right to do what you want to do. So just make a list and take action, and just try every one of them. But be careful, if you don't mind me just adding, be careful not to make any long-term commitments, because you might find something else, right? Later
Right.
on.
Right.
Keep taking action, keep trying things. Yeah.
So
So
this
that
would be the time to exercise we talked about, to start that walk. And so, because
absolutely.
we're always going to exercise when we get time, and we and we never have time.
Yeah, you know what? We have to make time. We have to make time, because what we're doing, the time that we're making to exercise, is actually going to save us time, because the next time you get ill, you'll recover more quickly, and you'll save yourself another week of boredom laying in bed waiting to get healthy, right?
Right.
So and we're saving ourselves time in a lot of ways. So yeah, we have to just decide that our health is a priority. We you know I don't want to be using a walker if I don't have to.
Exactly. Exactly.
So why not keep my balance? Why not keep my flexibility? You know,
Right.
so a little bit of exercise. Nobody, I don't think, well, almost, I should say, very few people really look forward to exercising every day. I mean, I don't even look forward to it. However, every time I finish, I'm glad I've done it.
Yeah, I do. I do now about 40 miles a week. So, but I
Oh,
started, like you said, just small increments during COVID, just
good
small
for
increments
you.
to break the monotony and clear my head. And now
Yeah.
it's like people, you'll be surprised how it grows on you.
Yeah, and it helps your attitude. You
Right.
get a more positive attitude.
And it's just realize just how beautiful the nature can be.
Yeah.
So, what about other plans? Because I know going into retirement now, we've given people some great you've given people some great solutions about how to live in retirement, but we're bridging them. What about that bridge from work with all the friends and the conversations and the family
Yes.
into retirement where those people don't come?
Yeah. So,
By yourself all of a sudden.
well, one of the videos in my course is about how to make friends when you're retired. And the first thing you need to do is talk to your family members, because as you go, if you have family members, if you're lucky enough to have family members, even if they've been estranged over the years, there's an old saying, I forget, maybe it's a Chinese saying or something, that if you don't see somebody, or yeah, something like, if you don't see somebody for 3 years, even a relative can turn into a stranger. So call them up and say, Mary, uh, I'm sorry I neglected our relationship so long. We used to be good friends, but I got tied up in work, and now that I'm approaching retirement, hopefully I'm a little bit wiser than I used to be, and our friendship is much more important to me. I so I'm calling up to apologize and just see if there's anything that I can do to help our relationship get going again. Something like that. And then try and get a meeting in person. If they'll meet with you in person, then I would say there's a 97% chance that they're open to it. I mean, if they're meeting in person and they're not open to getting back together, then what do they want? Are they here just to beat on you? I mean, if the estranged family member is one of your children, then that very well may be the case, that they want to beat on you. They want to punish you, right? For not being a perfect parent, but you were doing the best you could at the time. And if you had it to do over again, you'd do it differently, because you're smarter now. You're a different person now because you know more than you used to. I mean, that doesn't help them, but anyway, there are ways to reconcile with even close family members, let alone cousins or relatives or friends. Yeah, and talk to your spouse and tell them, you're going to have more time available, and ask them, are there things that, are you open to the idea of me hanging around more often? And are there things that I could do for you, or things that we could do together? So communication is the key. And you have to remember, at times like that, it's much more important to listen than to talk, right?
Right.
So, and also the other key thing is, you're not there to be right. Your goal is to start the relationship again. So if you have to say you're sorry, even if you're not sorry, is that such a small price for having that person in your life again? Tell them you're sorry. And if it's one of your children and they start to beat on you with their words, then you can. I also talk in the course about how to be detached from somebody who's yelling. I mean, you're not detaching from them. You still love them. You're just detaching from their drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found that when I do that and I remain calm, and they see that I'm not going to get upset and go down the drain with them, when they see that, then they become calm as well.
That's true. Even though I can honestly say, my children have never yelled at me. It's like they always
Wow.
thought I was a lot of fun.
Oh, good for you.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna
That is-
check in quickly for a second just to see if we have any questions, as I promised, because a lot of people will put them into the chat.
Ah,
So I think that that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So, okay, cool. So what about the friendships? One of the questions is, what about the friendships at work that don't carry over into your retirement?
Yeah. That's, and it can be quite a different situation. I mean, If you had a friend at work, uh, you have to gauge, you have to look at the friendship analytically. I mean, sometimes if you were only talking about work issues while you were at work, and if you were only bonding over work issues, then it can be tough when you're not working anymore, or maybe neither of you is working anymore. Then you have to look for something else you have in common. I mean, there's a good chance, though, that if you were able to bond over one issue, you could bond over something else. Maybe you could both take up golfing or something, that kind of thing. I would also mention one other thing about uh, people that did enjoy their career. When those people are transitioning to retirement, they can have a wonderful and easy transition, and those people can actually have a wonderful retirement if they are able to do something that is related to their job, to their old job, to their career. You know, if they can maybe do some consulting for a startup in their field, uh, or if they can even do some volunteering, or if they can mentor a younger person that is trying to get into their field. You know, do something that keeps them in their field. That's the way that those people can have a very fulfilling um, retirement. There was a French researcher called Carol Dufoy. She looked at 500,000. I mean, that's a big
Wow.
number. 500,000 retired people, and she found that for every year they worked after they could have retired, their risk of getting dementia, any kind of dementia, was, I think it was 3.8% less for every year that they worked. And so, I mean, if you work 5 years or 10 years after you're supposed to retire, those numbers add up, you know? And so your chances of getting dementia are much, much less. If you know, some people, I'm not suggesting you need to keep working full time, but keep active in your field.
That's great advice. Now let's switch a little bit over as we've got some time left to talk a bit about depression. So,
Oh,
because I know sometimes that goes hand in hand. There are a lot of reasons for depression, but what I'm finding now is that in our current society, there's more and more people talking about depression openly, which is something that we didn't seem to do uh, prior to COVID. It was almost like you had to suffer in silence or you had to pretend that everything was okay.
exactly. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. People are uh, much more open to talking about it, and there's even corporations now. You know, major corporations, some banks, major banks, and stuff like that, both in Canada and the United States, that are sponsoring, that are putting money towards this kind of increased awareness of mental health issues. So it is becoming more accessible and less of a taboo.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, you know, it still is kind of a problem. You know, you still have to be very careful what you say and who you say it to and that kind of thing. So, I mean, even when I'm talking to people about it, I have to be careful not to say mental problems, or some people just get scared. My God, mental problems, you know, and
Yep.
yeah. So I have to say psychological problems, you know. For some reason, if I say that word, you know, I can say some people have physical problems, some people have psychological problems, and they can all be dealt with. You know, that's a little, you know, so it depends on your terminology.
Mhm.
But you're right. It is more accessible, but still not as much as it should be.
So, what are some of the signs that people should notice to know if they're finding themselves slipping into depression? Because a lot of times we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So we may just say, I'm just having a bad day, or I just don't feel like getting out of bed today, but because we don't know what we don't know. So, what are some of the things people should kind of look for or question, even?
Yeah, very good. So the first thing that needs to be said on that issue is that everybody has bad days.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
I mean, I don't care who you are. If you say that you never had a bad day, then what else are you lying about?
There was a guy on Hawaii Five-O that was doing this scene rescuing the world from some chemical warfare, and someone said, "Oh no, don't do that. That's not. This is not going to be a good day." He says, "Yesterday was the only good day."
Oh dear, that's not a positive attitude.
Right.
Yeah. So some signs, I guess, would be things that just kind of go on too long. Like if you just don't feel any interest in things that you used to be passionate about, um, or if you um, that's the biggest one, but it can be also things like even eating. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe you're not as interested in eating, or maybe you're not sleeping like you used to. Lack of sleep can be so damaging. It not only physically but psychologically. A lack of sleep can just
Mhm.
really be a dangerous thing. So we have to watch those things, and we have to be willing, again, we have to be willing to take action, you know and we have to consciously choose to be happy, and we have to choose that every day sometimes, like as I mentioned, I spent 35 years, uh, and I mean, it wasn't just an instant thing. It wasn't like I was severely depressed on Tuesday and then Wednesday I was, wow, everything's great, I mean, it doesn't happen like that, right? So I have to choose often to look at the positive side of the situation and to choose to be happy. One of the most powerful things anybody can do, whether you're depressed or not, one of the most powerful things anybody can do to have a happy life, in my opinion, is to choose to look on the positive side of the situation. Now, negative people, I mean, I talked to a guy one time and he said, "Oh, it's not realistic to be positive." But of course he's going to say that because he's negative, right? I mean, positive people could just as easily say it's not realistic to be negative. I mean, it's destructive. It's self-destructive to be negative. It's creative and it's healthy when we're happy. One of the great things, I guess, like anything, it's a blessing and a curse, but one of the most powerful things about the human body is that when we're sad, when we're depressed, when we're unhappy, the body creates chemicals and hormones that hurt us, that hurt our physical health, and even hurt what they call cognitive ability, which just means you can't think as well. You're not as smart as you used to be. So, but on the other hand, if you choose to be happy, to laugh, to feel good, to look at the positive side of things, the body does the opposite. The body creates healing chemicals and hormones. And that's what happened to me. Gradually over the years, I healed, and I healed my brain, I healed my body, because I did it through meditation. Now not everybody has to do it through meditation, but meditation was a life changer for me. And although I don't teach meditation, uh, I I talk about a lot of the things I learned about myself and about how to live and about the world uh, while I was meditating. So I've like take the example of the old example of the glass half full of water. People who look at the positive side of things, we don't pretend the glass is full, right? We
Right.
we still we still know it's only half full. It's just that if you're a positive person, you just naturally start to think about all the good things you can do with that half glass or half barrel, whatever it is, half container that's half full of water. But if you're a negative person, all you can think about is where's that other half glass of water, and geez, I don't have that, and why me, and all you can do is be negative about it, and that's not the way to live a happy life. So we can choose, we can consciously choose to be happy. And I don't know. I could talk for a long time about this, Stephanie. So just jump in if I'm talking too long. But I'll just say one more quick thing.
Okay.
The first thing that helped me get out of my severe depression was I realized, I guess part of my problem was that I used to think that that there was a plan, that God or somebody had a plan for me, for my life, and that my plan was that I was going to be this guy down here, the light brown hair guy with the glasses. He's going to be miserable for so many years, and then one day he'll wake up and he'll be happy and he'll do great things. And that is just a fantasy. So what I learned, I mean, I believe in God. I have nothing against God, anything like that. So I don't want to start that kind of an issue, okay? But my point is that God, as I believe in him or her, God gave us freedom of choice. I have freedom of choice. I can turn left or I can turn right. I can have a glass of water or I can have a glass of juice. My life is up to me. And so that means to me that I have choice and I can choose to do things that are positive for me, good for my physical health, good for my mental health, or I can choose to do things that are not good for me. And sometimes even when we're not choosing, we're actually choosing the
Yeah.
negative aspect. So for me, I learned that my life is up to me and I can make my life anything I want it to. And I honestly believe in my heart that every person on the planet can do anything they want with their life as long as they are responsible for their actions, for their words and their actions.
Mhm.
I reap the benefits of my good actions. And if I do something wrong, then I suffer for it. But, like I must say that I'm not responsible for things that were done to me when I was a child or things that weren't done for me when I was a child. I'm not responsible. Those things are not my fault. I'm not talking about fault.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just talking about responsibility. If somebody, like I can only control myself. I can't control other people. So
Right.
if somebody else does something harmful to me, I can't control that. I can't control them, but I can control my reaction.
That's right. You can control your reaction to
I
it.
can control what I say to them, what I think myself, what I do about it. And I've found that my life is a lot like just a simple analogy of a shelf up on the wall. If I fill that shelf with positive things, positive thoughts, positive actions, then there's only so much bandwidth that I have in my life as a person. There's only so much space on that shelf. If I constantly fill it with positive things, then pretty soon all the bad things, they just fall off the edge. There's just no room for them.
That's true. There's just no room for them. They fall off.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've learned that what I pay attention to gets stronger.
Right.
And when I feel good about one thing, it helps me. I mean, I can't help it sometimes. I just feel good about everything.
Yes, where you place your attention, your energy goes, and where you send your energy is what you create.
Right on. Yeah.
So that's right. So with the creation, I'd like to help people figure out how to change their circumstances and create something that they would really enjoy for a change. Because we're constantly creating things. We created everything we experience. So that's why I thought that the tips on retirement and things you can start to look at that you can do to have a good retirement or have a good life, as opposed to the things that you cannot do, because there's so many great things that we can do to make sure that our life is the life that we want it to live. And we can start, as you said, you can start right now, because the glass, look, y'all, the glass is half full. There's enough in there. I don't care how you see the glass.
Yeah.
If you see it as half empty, there's still enough in there for you. So
that's right. That's great, Stephanie.
So don't blame it on the glass. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh.
You're so inspiring and positive. It's wonderful.
Thank you. I have too. Like, you had an interesting life and a lot of good stories to tell. That's one thing about it. Lives like we've had, there's a lot of great stories to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So remind people again as to where your website is, and where they can find your classes on both the retirement and depression, so that they can get the information and the guidance that they need in order to make sure that they can start to begin to trust their greatness.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Well, there is kind of a long, complicated URL, but if you just go to rejectdepression.com, it will actually take you to my website. So rejectdepression.com. And on that website, there's, of course, a number of pages. One of them is called Video Courses. And if you go to that page, you can see an excerpt, just a few minutes long, from every video in the course. So you can see what the course is like before you take it. And there's also a link on that page, of course, where you can go to the page where you buy the course and where you take it, where you watch it. And also on that website, you can book a free session, like a free session called Get Out of Depression and Never Go Back. So that's my mission. Frankly, it may sound a bit far-fetched, but I honestly believe that there's really no reason for people to be unhappy. And that we can choose to be happy. We can choose to feel love for ourselves, for people around us, for the world. I mean, we're not putting blinders on, right? We still know the world is at it is, but before you can save the world, you have to save yourself. So let's get ourselves in a great position. Then we can be of service to greater and greater numbers of people around us.
That's true. Thank you very much. I have enjoyed this session, and this is wonderful advice. And I want to encourage all of the listeners to be sure to go out to Ken's website and look at those videos, as they are really interesting. And he's got some great courses too. So until next time, may this day offer you just what you need in each unfolding moment. I want you to be inspired until further notice. Celebrate everything, absolutely everything. Do not go gently into that good night. Find a heel worth dying for. Be the person that you are waiting for. And I challenge you to make today so awesome that yesterday gets jealous. And above all else, do it your way. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, empowerment doctor. And as I always say, life is too short to drink cheap champagne. So thank you again, Ken, for joining us. So that ends this session. And with that, we will have closing credits. And as usual, a special thanks to Teresa Griffin for allowing me to use her songs for both my opening and my closing. So with that, good night and do it big. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, the empowerment doctor, and I needed to share this with you today. People who know me know I do about 25 miles a week, but today, I didn't want to do it. I hurt my toe, and I came up with every excuse under the sun, but I finally got myself up and got it done. So I wanted to share techniques so that you can stop that negative self-talk quickly. When that happens to you, and it's bound to happen to all of us, take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. This allows your thought process to slow down. It allows you to realize that you are in a position to do the things that you can do. And it allows you to recognize the things that you cannot change so that you don't waste your energy trying to do those. The next thing is to acknowledge your thoughts. Regardless if they're negative, if they're positive, just don't name them. Just call them thoughts and know that it's very natural for you to have them. I want you to identify the cause of those thoughts that you're having. So take a minute to think about what's happening behind those thoughts that we call negative. So are there complaints? Is it just a negative thought? Are you talking about you having the inability to do something like strengths, talents, or abilities? And then what are your abilities? Because there's a good chance that if you do that, that you'll be able to face any fears that you have and you will erase these negative thoughts. The next thing is create a routine and stick to it. That's what I had to do in order to get back in shape, is I created a routine and I stick to it. So I go to bed at the same time, I get up at the same time, I have my meditation at the same time, I do my exercise at the same time. And the last thing is to consciously work to silence your thoughts. It takes a little practice, but you have the power to do that. So if you have constant negative chatter in your mind, sometimes I just tell it to shut up and we'll get back to you later. You have everything it takes right now to get started toward reaching your goals. And remember, life is too short to drink cheap champagne. By the way, I did finish my miles today, and guess what? My toe didn't even bother me. I love you all. Have a great one. Bye.
But life's too short to drink cheap champagne, so I decided to buy me